Hi, okay, it's me again. Only this time doing the vlog from the iPhone, which should transfer, just as easy to this call it YouTube. So here we are. We're on Saturday, the 27th of August. And it's 13:10, which is 1:10 in the afternoon. Right, today's little ramble is going to be about the early part of my life, basically. I'm one of five kids in the family, and I'm right in the middle. I've got a brother and sister either side of me. So I'm middle fiddle, as it were, and sort of, that lets you know the placing. But back in 1975, this is the year that I was leaving school, and I didn't know what to do. Much the same as kids don't today. Every one of my kids went through this, and not one of them knew what they wanted to do. Well, I was no different to that. All I knew is that get a trade. That was the old man would be saying, get a trade. You know where you're at with a trade. And of course, it was the 70s, and although apprenticeships were rife then, lots of my mates got mechanics and so on and so forth. But I couldn't get the traditional apprenticeship or anything really. Whether it's traditional or not, joinery, bricklaying, carpentry, should I say, plumbing, electrician. And I tried loads of different companies, and I just didn't get on with any of them. And the old man says, what are you going to do? I says, well, I think I'm going to be an actor. He says, what kind of actor? He says, get to the back of that fucking van. He says, that's your actor. And I thought, oh, God, this is what's facing me for the rest of my life. Anyhow, he also said, well, do I fancy, would I be up for getting an interview with the owner of the firm he was working for, North Midland Construction, and seeing if they'll take me on as a trainee agent. And he got me an interview with the major, and I went in and we passed Bibb and Tucker, and essentially he said, yeah, he got me the job and agreed to let me go to college one day a week on a building and civil engineering course, which was very good, except for the fact that the company, although it had a building and civil engineering side to it, wasn't the side I was on. But anyway, I digress a little bit with that. So they sent me a letter offering me this position, to which obviously I accepted. But I've got a couple of weeks before that. Oh, I even tried to join the Navy. I got three friends at school. There was Sean McDermott, Graham Fowler, and myself, and we were sort of inseparable. We were, great mates. And Graham wanted to join the Navy, and his dad was in the Navy, and it was a bit of a tradition for him. And I thought, what a good idea. I'll go along and I'll do the same thing. So I tried to sign up to the Navy. We all took the test. We all passed the exams for MEM1, which is Marine Engineering Mechanic. And all it was down to now was the physical, to which we all trotted along on Saturday for one day. It wouldn't have been a Saturday. One day we trotted along to the naval doctors, which they sent us all. Well, they sent me and Graham to the same place, but there was lots of lads doing a physical on the same day, coming from Manchester and all over the country. But it was in Derby. I failed it. I failed the physical, and I, for the life of me, couldn't understand why. It turns out that they discovered the heart murmur that I had as a child. I was born with a heart defect in my aortic valve. But I was told I'd grow out of it and all the rest of it, but never did. My entire life I've had this thing, which, is probably a little bit responsible for the weight and stuff, But anyway, couldn't get in the Navy, rejected the Navy due to this heart murmur. So that was that done. Christ almighty. So I've got this offer from North Midland to go and work for them, so I took the letter. And my other mate at school, we decides, well, what we're going to do next week? Let's go down Skegness. And we'll go to Skegness for, we didn't know how long it was. It was going to be open-ended. Because we haven't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out on. We was like skin members, but we did know that Skegness, of course, lots of birds down there, isn't there? Especially near the fairground. So I had a moped at the time, relatively new. I got it to actually to go to work, because living in Rattleborough-on-Trent, you got to catch buses and trains into Nottingham. Sorry, that was just a note came up on the video. So I had another one. It's from Claire. She's supposed to be coming over today, but Claire can't get up in the morning more than a man in the moon, so she's telling me now she'll be over by 3 o'clock, so a couple hours. So, for the life of me, I can't remember how we got there, but we got there, and I must have took the bike down there. Must have took the Yamaha FS1E, and I'm sure I must have got on the back of that, but I just can't remember that bit. I do remember getting there though, and we said, right, what we're going to do, we're going to come here for let's work on the fairground. We're bound to get involved with, sort of, because they like fairground lads, don't they, the girls, aren't they, for some reason. Supposed to be a bit wild, etc. So we goes to the, it was the Botton Brothers fairground. Oh, Christ almighty. But I was a big hefty lad at that time. I've always been sort of on the big side for my age. When I look back at pictures of me, I'm not at all anything like that. I don't see why people saw it, but they did. And I did from, at the time I did myself. So we goes into this cashier's place, and both me and Sean, we said, we'd like to come down here to work if we can. And they put us straight to bloody work. This was about 11 o'clock in the morning. They said, right, yeah, you, to Sean, you go over there, and they split us up completely for the, duration of it, like, completely, like the opposite sides of the fairgrounds. They made me a bouncer on a slot machine arcade type thing. The only point of contact I'd got was speaking to the girl, like they give out tuppences and things, shit like that, don't they? Change pounds, change money in the booth, in the kiosk. And they didn't like to talk to you much, and more often than not, a guy coming in, he'd be sitting, like your boss, if you like, come in and he'd be running the kiosk, and there was not much to talk about other than the fact that you would get all the attention you wanted from the opposite sex, because it was wall to wall. The hours was something like, it was something like when the fair opened, it was something like 9 or 10 o'clock, something like that, till 11:30 at night, straight through, you know, and you could have a break. I think you could have one break. I mean, it wasn't work, it was just standing around. There was no, well, I never ever had an altercation at all, so it wasn't anything where, you know, it was like you were dealing with jobs or anything like that. There was the fair share of people banging machines and shit like that, because that's what them things do, innit? You know, they drive you crackers. But they only had to get one glimpse of somebody looking at them and they'd stop, you know what I mean? And maybe then come out with a mouthful of moans and stuff. But yes, we had a great rapport. I'd go and see Sean during the dinner break and say, how's he getting on? And he said, fucking hell, he says, it's non-stop here. And of course he would be, because he was on like some kind of merry-go-round type thing where he had to collect their money, and then he had a lot more activity going off where he was, because he was in like a moving thing, you know, whereas mine was really seriously boring. I think I only stood it 2 or 3 days and we said, oh, enough's enough. But we got nowhere to stay, we got no, you know, all the rest of the shit. Oh, it's £2 for the day. This was, like I said, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, and it was £2, but that's not what we went there for, of course. So, and as it got to be night time and the nights drew in and the lights came on, it got a whole lot more exciting, you know. You had your fair share of girls that would hang around just talking to you all day, and well, not all day, but you know, for as long as they didn't get bored or you didn't or whatever. It was one of them things that it was a rite of passage. It wasn't something that you weren't skilled at anything. It was just an experience to have, you know. And that night at 11 o'clock, it was, you know, where do we sleep? You know, it's like 70, 80 miles back to Ratcliffe. That's not happening, so, because we got to be on again in the morning, so we got to have Botton Brothers jackets, and, you know, that was our identifiers. And we'd say to other lads on the film, well, what does people do here at night? And they'd say, well, there's a load of caves down there. There's lots of people go in them caves and, you know, or sleep on the beach or all the rest of it. So we didn't do the cave thing that night. We must have, I don't know, we must have not just been up all night talking, and that bit sort of eludes me a little bit. We ran into, because the place came alive after the fairground shut down. There was all these workers, if you like, all intermingling and wandering around, or mostly doing what we were doing, you know, sort of vagrants, hobos almost, you know. So we were running into one character, and we went to the pubs. Must have been open. They must have been open. We were on, I'll never forget this youth. His name was Iggy, and broad Nottingham, yeah, a broad Nottingham accent, and proper Jack the Lad, got 1,000 stories and wasn't scared of out, and was sort of the life and soul of the place type of thing, you know. And he'd be telling you stories about what he'd seen here and what he'd seen there and who he spoke to, and he says, but they never see him coming. And I says, I never see who coming. And he says, me little brother. I says, your little brother? He says, yeah, you don't want to meet him, he's a bad one. So I'm looking at Sean, and Sean's looking at me, I said, what the fuck's his little brother? We've not seen anybody with him all night, but I'll leave it alone. So it turns out that his little brother was stitched into the inside pocket of his waistcoat, which was like an Afghan type waistcoat. And it was a 14 or 18-inch bastard file, like a real raspy, fucking horrible looking thing. And he pulled that out and used it as a weapon, basically. Or he said he did. I mean, the truth of the matter is, we didn't see him do that. He was a nice character. But I suppose if you were confronted with something, then maybe you'd have to, otherwise you'd get your head kicked in, wouldn't you? So we did 1 or 2 nights down there. And I said to Mackie, I said, Sean, I said to, his nickname was Mackie. I says, I've got enough of this. Let's get back to Nottingham. And he says, yeah, he says, it's all right, but we'll do 1 more night. So, all right, then we'll do another night. So, same sort of thing happened, only this time it was like he got to about 9:30, and I thought, I've straight had enough of this. Well, let's get to the pub, sort of standing around doing nothing from 9, 10 in the morning to, But I've got to let these people know that I'm going. It's like they were good enough to start us. That's how I saw it. I owed them an explanation as to why we're not staying. So I says, I goes to see the boss, and it was after 3 days, I think, we had down there. Maybe it might have even been the week. But I'm just giving you the highlights of the thing that sort of happened to us in a pre-work, basically. First taste of it. And I went along to see the guy, and I says, look, can I speak to you? He says, yeah. He says, I prior to coming here, I went for a job interview. I says, and I've since received that he didn't know that I wasn't going home, and that I had the letter when I went to apply for his job. I says, I've since got a reply to the job interview, and I'll start Monday, essentially, so I've got to leave. And he says, oh, fucking marvellous, isn't it? He started whining at the girls and the people that was around us at the time. He says, you get these young lads come down here. He says, making out they got no. He says, and the daddy's got a bloody big construction company, and he's like going to be going to work for him on Monday. All right, young. And he says, you better get off. So I thought, okay, that's cool. Funny enough, he didn't dock any money. I don't remember ever being disgruntled. The fact that, I was disgruntled with him. We was only getting £2 for the whole fucking shift. But I wasn't that bothered on the basis that, I did get the 2 and what we went there for, which is to have an adventure involving the opposite sex, and it was quite successful. That night we goes to the pub. And or that evening we goes to the pub and was sort of saying what how good the crack was, and how much we'd enjoyed it and all the rest of it. And it came to when we'd had enough to drink, or we'd run out of money, probably is near the point. It was where we were going to sleep. And we thought we'll give these caves because we couldn't, sleeping on the beach or under the pier or it was like not a nice, it's not a nice thing to do, It wasn't the Bahamas here, we're talking Skegness. And although it can be beautiful in July, it wasn't exactly, if I remember rightly, the hottest July. 76 was superb, but I don't think 75 was as good. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we thought we'd give the caves a try. And so we're all bevied up and we're walking down to where the caves are, and there's lots of people in there. We should have done that the first night, in all honesty. Because it looked quite cosy, it looked quite nice, as opposed to the the pier or the beach, which was not so bloody nice. It sounds nice, doesn't it? Till, sand is everywhere, sort of crack your arse. Oh, it's no good. But the caves looked okay, and it was rammed with people. I mean, there was lots of people in there, and they were all sort of cohabiting as well, the boys and the girls, or the men, the women, or whatever you want to call it. It was all teenagers. And so Iggy's still with us by this time, and we walks into the caves, and he shouts out, "Anyone here know Iggy?" And it was pitch blank, like I said, aside from the odd fire. And in the background, this little voice say, "Yeah, I know Iggy." Right, well, he was making a headline for whoever it was that knew him. So I thought, that's got to be worth a fucking go. So I did the same thing. "Anyone here know the Docketies?" And the little voice, I left it and nothing. "Anyone here know the Docketies?" And the next thing we heard, "Is it Jim?" And I thought, oh, bollocks. Yeah, I always get that. When you go to it, it's like you're either meeting Alan's friends or you're meeting Jim's friends, or Maureen's or Tina's, and it's like you go to say, "Oh, hello, yeah, it's nice to see you. Yeah, how's Jim?" Yeah, I don't know, he's all right. It's one of them things, It was a girl that we went to school with, a girl called Susan Donegan. She was in them bloody caves, and I had to laugh. It made me laugh at the time anyway. I thought, yeah, right up my bloody street, that is it Jim? So that was my little jaunt into working on the fairgrounds, which didn't happen again. Sean went on to... because he was a very good actor at school. Great things was expected of him. And he really should have done it. I don't know why he didn't. I don't know why he never took it up. I mean, he went for a part in Oliver, which is on at the Theatre Royal at the time in Nottingham. And he didn't get the part, but he obviously impressed them enough for them to offer him another part of the Undertaker's son. I was so jealous. I wanted to be in this bloody production of Oliver, and I never went for the interview for a start. I don't know how he got the bleeding interview as well. That was another thing. But he did, and he got the part, and he went on to do the show. Funnily enough, we were inseparable at school, but after school, never ran into the lad. Never run into him. He still lives here in Ratcliffe. I live on the Harlequin, where I've always lived, or where we grew up. And he lived up on the Clumber Drive part of Ratcliffe. Wasn't Clumber Drive, it was off it. But he grew up in a house up there, but he got his own place, and I believe it's down here on the A52. And like I say, never ran into him since. Graham, on the other hand, I've seen Graham. He sends a Christmas card every year. Throughout our lives, we've met up on several occasions. And we just pick up where we left off. That's like true mates, isn't it? You don't have to be in each other's pockets to know that you know, there's somebody there if you ever really desperately needed someone, then that I have no doubt, as I would be for him. Uh, but yes, that's my 30-minute video for today. It's 25 as it happens. So we'll see how this one loads up. This was a week at Botton Brothers Fair in Skegness. And with that, I'll say good day, and I'll see you on the next one.